Let's jump into this first topic. Caleb Williams, he's obviously the number 1 draft pick for the Bears. We didn't see him play. We'll touch on that as well. Starters, should they play, should they not play in the preseason Hall of Fame game? We didn't see very many at all in the game. But very, very interesting. Kevin Byard, one of Caleb's teammates, came out and had this to say about Caleb Williams and the way he leads. Let's take a listen.
First thing he says, like, hey, man, we're all grown men here, right? As we're going through training camp, we're getting a little too sloppy. We're leaving water bottles and towels and all type of things around, man. Like, these custodians have a lot of square footage they have to cover in this whole building. Let's try to help them out by cleaning up after ourselves. When you want to be a great player, you always focus on the little details. You know what I mean? Not even just the details of the play, but the details of everything around you.
Now, when I heard this, as long as it didn't become a story based off of a narrative being created by the media or a created narrative by Caleb Williams and his camp, I felt like hearing this from a fellow teammate that this was, quite frankly, amazing. Because I believe, I'm a military kid. I subscribe to cleanliness is next to godliness, and that you should be super responsible over your space as it applies to the locker room. And I have some pretty interesting things to say about how the small details, like keeping your area clean, waking up, making your bed, how that plays a major role in your success. But our former teammate, Stretch, had a different perspective on this report and the words that were stated by Byard. Here's what Amani Toomer had to say about Caleb Williams telling veterans that this is what they needed to do.
He's Russell Wilson 2.0.
Uh-oh.
This is not going to go over well.
Uh-oh.
If you came in the locker room, I've been in this locker room for 8 years, like you said. And some rookie's going to come in who hasn't played one snap.
Right.
Talking, we're wearing the fingernail polish. Now he's going to come in here and tell me, who've been here, who've been through the struggle, that I need to clean up? No, how about rookie? How about you clean up after me?
Right.
How about that? Don't give me this crap. I don't like it at all. I feel like rookies should earn their respect.
Sure.
Just because you got drafted number 1 doesn't mean nothing to me because I don't even know if you're good.
I'll say this and then I'll turn it over to y'all. My first thought process was, come on, Monty. Like, I feel like that is starting to earn your respect and establish yourself in the locker room when you have certain things like that to say, holding yourself to a standard, holding yourself to an accountability. I don't give a damn if I'm an undrafted free agent to the team. If this is something that's going to make you better, something that's going to make us better, it draws attention to raising the level of paying attention to the details that go into having success. An organized work area says that you have an organized mind, that you can organize your thoughts. If you're telling me you have a problem with that and you want me as an undrafted free agent, number 1 draft pick, draftee, that I should be cleaning up after you because you've been in the league for 8 years and you're a veteran now, respect is respect. I believe that respect is earned. It's not given. But I also believe that being open to someone who actually is telling you something that could be productive, it should be warranted. It should be accepted. It should be embraced versus being met with, a harshness or being volatile or confrontational about it. But Armani didn't feel that way. How do you guys fall on this topic?
Man, I don't know what's going on. Like, Amani Toomer, like, honestly, it doesn't matter if you the first pick, the second pick, or the last pick. If you just telling guys to clean up after themselves, what's the problem? It don't matter who you are. If you feel you want to voice that and you feel comfortable voicing that, that's the key. He feels comfortable in that locker room to voice that to a bunch of grown men. He's already becoming a leader. You don't have to be the best player on the team. You have to be a good player to say something like that, because if you're not, everybody's going to look at you and you don't have the respect yet. But it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't have to be Caleb. It could have been anybody. The fact that he's telling guys to clean up after themselves, I don't understand what's wrong with that. Really, like, make the jobs of the people that do their job to make everything easy for you as easy as possible. I've always felt like you get out the shower, you just throw it on the ground. Bro, the hamper's right there.
Right there.
Put your towel in a hamper. You're going to leave a bottle around. Put your bottle in. I never understood it, and I was one to always say that. So I don't agree with Amani Toomer at all. And better yet, like, why would you? Because he's a rookie. This is where I have a problem when people say, we don't even know if you can play yet. Just say he can't play absolutely at all. He sucks. The fact that he's telling people to clean up after him, what's wrong with that? That has nothing to do with how good of a player you are. It's the decency of a person so that somebody doesn't have to clean up after your dirty tail. That's all it is. What's wrong with that? You play with Amani, huh?
Man, listen.
What's wrong with your boy?
Me hearing that come out of his mouth is not shocking at all because I know exactly what this shit is.
Okay.
So I don't even understand why y'all getting all bent out of shape because that's Amani Toomer 100%. He's an old school kind of, player. He came in the early 90s and, that's how it was. The rookies had to, clean up and, go get the donuts and all of these kind of things. But it has to start somewhere. When I came to the Giants from Pittsburgh, we talking about I left a team that had just lost 2 AFC championship games. I left a 15-1 football team to come to New York to put myself into a position and into this puzzle to help win a world championship. And it has to start somewhere, and it comes down to details. And I understand exactly where this young man is coming from. It's not just because he's a rookie, but when he said that, there were a couple things that jumped off to me that I had issues with when I was in New York. I used to hate to get in the sauna and there's water bottles everywhere. I'm like, yo, man, can y'all bitch please throw y'all water bottles in the trash can? Or even like we're in the cafeteria, we had a sign on the bin. It says, please put your utensils in the bin. And I would see people just have the tray, have their forks and spoons on the tray and just throw it to the people for them to clean it. I'm like, dog, it says right here, just put your utensils, in the bin. And when you say things like that, it comes down to details. And I remember my first year in New York in 2005, we got into training camp, and they put up on the board, they had penalties by every player, and they had mental errors. And I looked up on that board, and I was number 1 on the board I led the team with 11 penalties. And then on the mental error side, I had like 18 mental errors like in a season. And I took it personally. I said to myself, man, listen, I can't get to where I want to go and help this team get where they want to go if I'm leading the damn team in penalties and mental errors. I got to clean that up from a detail standpoint just so we can get better as a football team. And from him being even though he's number 1 pick, or being a young quarterback and coming in and not just, he's not telling you what to do. Make these people's job easier around here. And that's how you start to build and put together a winning culture and an organization, especially from a franchise quarterback standpoint. Listen, I know Amani. I know exactly what kind of person he is. He's an old school kind of guy. But for this young man to come in and to start telling his team about the little details like this, it tells you what kind of quarterback he's going to be moving forward.
It made me feel good about Caleb Williams. Don't be afraid. Be unafraid. Establish your respect factor, as Amani mentioned, like you haven't even earned the respect yet. I feel like you should be doing things off the field just as much as you do on the field to start to earn that respect and garner the credibility of being a leader. And if you got to tell a grown-ass man that they're too dirty and that we need to be more responsible over our own things, there's a couple things that come to mind. You're a very, very either underdeveloped person and lack the training of what common courtesy of a clean area represents, and your home is probably a filthy wreck. You probably got roaches and rodents running around your house because you don't know how to clean up after yourself and keep things in the proper order. And you're also someone who's entitled. So if your house is immaculately kept, if everything is properly placed and put where it needs to be, the dishes are washed and they're in the proper cupboards. Your laundry is washed and smells good with fabric softener and all those things. You have somebody doing it for you. You have somebody doing it for you. You either married somebody because you knew that's what they would provide for you, pay your bills, take care of everything for you, and you're entitled. Or you hired somebody that keeps you organized that way. Regardless of whichever one it is, as a grown-ass man, you should be ashamed of yourself that you don't have a higher standard for yourself to make sure that you hold yourself to an accountability and a standard of where you give yourself an opportunity. We get up early to do these shows. We have our own businesses and our own lives. You know, TJ, you have multiple enterprises that you're running. Plex, you have multiple enterprises that you're running. And the things about it is could you imagine if having your flag football uniforms just be thrown around and strode around and not washed, and they could stand up on their own with the stink rigor mortis, or in the smoothie shop, you know, you're leaving used utensils around and you're just reusing them and different things like that. How much success are you going to have in your enterprise if you have a bunch of underdeveloped or entitled people that are handling and conducting business in your business? And for what it's worth, those same people that are not doing what they're supposed to do in the locker rooms to keep their areas clean and to show that they're responsible over themselves before we even get into a meeting room or on the football field, those same people are showing you that they're entitled, underdeveloped, and not prepared to do what they need to do to hold up their end of the bargain for me, personally, if I'm Caleb Williams, to have success. And for him to call that out and say, let's help out the janitors, he was putting it light. Because if we're being for real, you can sit there and call you filthy mother effers. This is some BS. It starts here, and you know what? Do better. Because if we do better here, we'll do better everywhere else. That's just my take on it.
And you know what? I'm going to put it out there for everybody else. The people that don't know, LaVar Arrington is a player that will lay his uniform out on the ground and line it up before he puts it on his back. He would line up his whole uniform. He would have the cleats on the ground with the socks coming out of the cleats.
Learned it from
into the pants, with the pants on there, with the jersey on the shoulder pads, with the helmet lined up, ready to go.
Yeah, learned it from Prime. And I always did it because I needed to know. I have little legs and a big upper body. I just needed to know what my uniform was going to look like before I put it on. You know what I mean?